We are in Genesis chapter 38.
Estamos en Génesis capítulo 38.
Judah has 3 sons, 2 of whom are killed by the Lord.
Judá tiene 3 hijos, 2 de los cuales son asesinados por el Señor.
He has 2 more sons by his daughter-in-law.
Tiene 2 hijos más de su nuera.
Genesis 38 verse 1.
Génesis capítulo 38, verso 1.
And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned in to a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira.
Aconteció en aquel tiempo que Judá se apartó de sus hermanos y se fue a un varón adulamita que se llamaba Hira.
And it came to pass at that time.
Y aconteció en aquel tiempo.
According to James Burton Kaufman, quote, at that time, from this, some have concluded that all of the following incidents occurred shortly after the sale of Joseph into Egypt, just related. Keel reached this conclusion, as did also Willis, but we have concluded that such a conclusion is not necessary. As Spicer said, the Hebrew phrase here is formulaic and thus used merely as an introductory remark. We agree with Skinner, without accepting his reasons, that we cannot tell when or where this separation took place. Whitelaw has fully discussed the chronological problems involved in any effort to nail down any firm placement as to time when these events happened.
En aquel tiempo, a partir de esto, algunos han concluido que todos los siguientes incidentes ocurrieron poco después de la venta de José a Egipto. Solo se relatan que llegó a esta conclusión, al igual que Willis, pero hemos llegado a la conclusión de que tal conclusión no es necesaria. Como dijo Spicer, la frase hebrea aquí es una fórmula y por lo tanto se usa simplemente como una observación introductoria. Estamos de acuerdo con Skinner, sin aceptar sus razones, en que no podemos decir cuándo ni dónde tuvo lugar la separación cuando sucedieron estos hechos. James Burton confirma.
Judah stayed with and apparently became friends with an Adullamite whose name was Hira.
Judá se quedó con un adulamita cuyo nombre era Hira y aparentemente se hizo amigo de él.
It is here that he meets a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua, Genesis 38 verses 1 and 2.
Es aquí donde conoce a una mujer cananea, la hija de Sua, Génesis capítulo 38, verso 1 y 2.
And we're going to read verse 2.
Vamos a leer el verso 2.
And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her.
Y vio ahí Judá la hija de un hombre cananeo, el cual se llamaba Sua, y la tomó y se llegó a ella.
He takes her as a wife.
La toma por esposa.
They have 3 sons, Genesis 38 verses 3 and 4.
Tiene 3 hijos, Génesis capítulo 38, verso 3 y 4.
And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Er. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan.
Y ella concibió y dio a luz un hijo y llamó su nombre Concibió otra vez y dio a luz un hijo y llamó su nombre Onán.
And we're going to read verse 5 too. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah, and he was at Kisib when she bare him.
Vamos a leer el verso 5 también. Y volvió a concebir y dio a luz un hijo y llamó su nombre Sela, y estaba en Kesib cuando dio a luz.
Judah takes a wife for his firstborn, heir, Genesis 38 and verse 6.
Judá toma esposa para su primogénito, Génesis capítulo 38, verso 6.
And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar.
Después Judá tomó mujer para su primogénito, la cual se llamaba Tamar.
Verse 7, we see however, is wicked and God kills him.
Verso 7. Y el primogénito de Jehová fue malo ante los ojos de Jehová, y le quitó Jehová la vida.
And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him.
Verse 7, right?
See.
Yeah.
You read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Judah tells his son Onan to marry her and raise up seed to heir. This is the Levirate law, or marriage.
Judá le dice a su hijo Onán que se case con ella y levante descendencia a
By the Levirate law, if the husband dies without any children, his brother was to marry the wife, and their first child or son was to be considered the child of the deceased.
Según la ley del levirato, si el marido muere sin hijos, su hermano debía casarse con la esposa y su mujer, y su primer hijo era considerado el hijo del fallecido.
Onan recognizes that the seed or child would not be his, and it says he spilled it on the floor that she would not conceive.
Okay, the same.
Okay.
The same. Ya, según la ley del levirato, si el marido muere sin hijos, su hermano debía casarse con la esposa y su primer hijo era considerado el hijo del fallecido.
And that's in verse 9.
Verso 9.
And Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, that he should give, lest that he should give seed to his brother.
Y sabiendo Onán que la descendencia no había de ser suya, sucedía que cuando se llegaba a la mujer de su hermano, vertía en tierra por no dar descendencia a su hermano.
This displeased God, and God killed him as well.
Esto desagradó a Dios y Dios también lo mató. Génesis capítulo 38, verso 10.
Gracias, hermano. Genesis 38, verse 10. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also.
Y desagradó en ojos de Jehová lo que hacía, y a él también le quitó la vida.
Verse 11.
Verso 11.
Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house.
Y Judá dijo a Tamar su nuera, quédate viuda en casa de tu padre, hasta que crezca Sela mi hijo, porque dijo, no sea que muera él también como sus hermanos, y se fue Tamar y estuvo en casa de su padre.
Judah withholds Shelah, his third son, because he is too young, lest he die also, as we see in verse 11.
Judá retiene a Sela, su tercer hijo, porque es demasiado joven para no morir también. Capítulo 38, verso 11.
She was to remain a widow until he was grown.
Ella permanecería viuda hasta que él creciera.
Judah's wife dies, verse 12.
Muere la esposa de Judá, verso 12.
And in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died, and Judah was comforted and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite.
Pasaron muchos días y murió la hija de Sua, mujer de Judá. Después Judá se consoló y subía a los transquiladores de sus ovejas a Timnat, él y su amigo Hira el Adulamita.
And he goes up to his friend to shear his sheep.
Se acerca a su amigo para esquilar sus ovejas.
Genesis 38, verses 13 through 22.
Génesis capítulo 38, verso 13 al 22.
And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way, to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, and thy bracelet, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose, and went away, and laid her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not. And he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place.
Vamos a leer verso 13 al 22. Y fue dado aviso a Tamar diciendo, He aquí tu suegro sube a Timnat a transquilar sus ovejas. Entonces se quitó ella los vestidos de su viudez y se cubrió con un velo y se arrebozó y se puso a la entrada de Enaim junto al camino de Timnat, porque veía que había crecido Sela y ella no era dada a él por mujer. Y la vio Judá y la tuvo por ramera porque ella había cubierto su rostro. Y se apartó del camino hacia ella y le dijo, déjame ahora llegarme a ti, pues no sabía que era su nuera. Y ella dijo, ¿qué me darás por llegarte a mí? Él respondió, yo te enviaré del ganado un cabrito de las cabras. Y ella dijo, dame una prenda hasta que lo envíes. Entonces Judá dijo, ¿qué prenda te haré? Ella respondió, tu sello, tu cordón y tu báculo que tienes en tu mano. Y él se los dio y se llegó a ella y ella concibió de él. Luego se levantó y se fue y se quitó el velo de sobre sí y se vistió las ropas de su viudez. Y Judá envió el cabrito de las cabras por medio de su amigo el Adulamita para que éste recibiese la prenda de la mujer, pero no la halló. Y preguntó a los hombres de aquel lugar diciendo, ¿dónde está la ramera de Naim junto al camino? Y ellos le dijeron, no ha estado aquí ramera alguna. Entonces él se volvió a Judá y dijo, no la he hallado. Y también los hombres del lugar dijeron, aquí no ha estado ramera.
Tamar sees that Shelah was grown up and she has not been given to him, takes matters into her own hands.
Tamar, al ver que Sela ha crecido y no le ha sido entregada, toma el asunto en sus propias manos. Se disfrazó de prostituta y esperó a su suegro.
And she dresses up as a prostitute and waited on her father-in-law.
Yeah.
Judah sees her but does not know who she is because she is wearing a veil.
Judá la ve, pero no sabe quién es porque lleva un velo.
He arranges to sleep with her and gives a pledge until he sends the payment.
Él se las arregla para acostarse con ella y le da una prenda hasta que envíe el pago.
She goes home and is not there when the payment is sent.
Ella se va a casa y no está ahí cuando se envía el pago.
Judah finds out that she is pregnant and is ready to kill her, verses 24 through 27.
Judá descubre que está embarazada y está dispuesto a matarla. Capítulo 24, verso 27. Chapter 24 or is
38.
24?
No, versiculars.
Oh, capítulo 38, verso 24 al 27.
Sorry, brother. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet and bracelet and staff. And Judah acknowledged them and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb.
Verso 24 al 27. Sucedió que al cabo de unos 3 meses fue dado aviso a Judá diciendo, Tamar tu nuera ha fornicado, y ciertamente está encinta a causa de las fornicaciones. Y Judá dijo, sacadla y sea quemada. Pero ella cuando la sacaban envió a decir a su suegro, del varón cuyas son estas cosas. Estoy encinta. También dijo, mira ahora de quién son estas cosas, el sello, el cordón y el báculo. Entonces Judá los reconoció y dijo, más justa es ella que yo, por cuanto no la he dado a Sela mi hijo, y nunca más la conoció. Y aconteció que al tiempo de dar a luz, he aquí que había gemelos en su seno.
She sends a pledge, and he admits that he is the father. And he does not sleep with her again.
Judá descubre que está embarazada y está dispuesto a matarla. Ella envía la promesa y ella admite que es el padre. No vuelve a acostarse con ella.
Genesis 38, verses 28 and 29.
Génesis capítulo 38, verso 28 al 29.
And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out, and she said, How hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez.
28 y 29. Sucedió cuando daba luz que sacó la mano el uno, y la partera tomó y ató a su mano un hilo de grana, diciendo, este salió primero. Pero volviendo a él a meter la mano, y aquí salió su hermano, y ella dijo, ¿qué brecha te has abierto? Y llamó su nombre Fares.
Here we see the interesting birth of the twins.
Aquí vemos el interesante nacimiento de los gemelos.
Does anyone have any thoughts or questions?
¿Alguna idea o pregunta?
On Jacob and Esau, they were born. Wasn't that similar to this?
Well, they were both twins, and they were struggling in the womb.
I thought when they were born, one took the other by the heel.
Jacob, it says, grabbed him by the heel.
Yeah.
And that's why they called him Jacob, which is heel catcher.
Oh, okay.
But this one actually apparently was partially born and then pulled his hand back, and the other one was born. And so of course, this has a lot of bearing. They tied the string around there so they'd know which one was the firstborn, because in that society at that time, firstborn got what, 2/3 of it, or depending on how many there was, got a double portion of the inheritance. So the firstborn was only first partially born. Anything else, Steve?
No, just that, you know, of course, the other brothers were all Judah's sons were slain. God took them.
God killed the first two.
So Perez was the descendant, Christ descendant from Perez. He's in genealogy, Matthew 1.
So it came through Tamar's
Yes,
son, not Shelah.
right.
Yeah. And technically, I guess Perez would, or not Perez, Shelah would be actually the firstborn at that point, because the oldest two were killed. He was Perez was or one of them was the firstborn here of Tamar, but not of Judah. And a note, I started to put it in here, but I took it out. I just used what Kaufman said. You can look up on the chronology of this, and there's some suggestion that the events here actually take place earlier because of the age. You see the birth of Pharez here, and when they go off into Judah, and you calculate Joseph's age, and when he goes into captivity, how long he's there before they go out there, and it just doesn't add up if this is immediately after he goes into captivity. So this must have taken place, the argument is, before. And actually, I was reading one that suggested, and I'm no expert, I haven't sat down and tried to calculate it, and I don't think we know exactly, but this may have actually been taking place, the events here, after what we read in chapter 33. So it's kind of not necessarily all in exact chronological order. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Bill? No comments from you? Question? There? Well, I appreciate everybody. We'll go ahead and we'll be in chapter 39. I'm actually thinking about maybe doing a special series here and then coming back after maybe 2-3 weeks and coming back to Genesis. I don't know. We'll see. Kind of give everybody a little bit of time to kind of digest what we've looked at and all, and come back, I guess, fresh with the rest of the rest of Genesis. But we'll see. Of course, if anybody has any thoughts on that, one way or the other, let me know, and we'll go from there. Appreciate anybody who was able to join us on the internet.